You're listening to a Rev FM production podcast. Welcome to Pastors Live, the show that discusses things of the Bible and current events for people who love to laugh. And now, the hosts who answer questions with more questions. It's Pastors Dave, Ty, Shane, and the other guy.
Hey everybody, it's Pastors Live. It's Wednesday. We got church tonight. You want to come out and join us for that. But today is, up and away into the wild blue yonder. It's Air Force Day. And so we want to say howdy.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you for that. Sorry, because for me, it's automatic. It's the Marine Corps hymn. That's what goes to my mind all the time. I had to really think about that. Then of course, Navy guys, right?
Navy family over here.
But by the way, it's cheeseburger today. So,
everybody can agree on that.
So we're going to go ahead and play Larry Boy doing a cheeseburger from Veggie Tales. We should probably do that just a clip of it.
Larry's silly songs.
Yes, silly songs with Larry, and I've just because they were silly and they were songs and they were a lot of fun. So I appreciated that.
Quick question for you guys.
Yes,
on your cheeseburger, grilled onions. I'm all
if
the way.
I like onions.
If I have the option, but if I have the option, it's with mushrooms, and I still have an actual an onion. I like the crunch of
just
the
the
onion.
Raw onion, no grilled.
No, I'll do grilled and a raw.
I'll do either.
Interesting.
Either.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter
Gary,
to me.
what about you, Mr. Gary? Are you a grilled onion guy?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Yep. So
let us know, folks. Pastors Live at the Rev.fm. Pastors Live at the Rev.fm. Are you a grilled onion person on your cheeseburger? We'd like to know.
Yeah,
for no reason at all.
Yeah, just because we want to know.
Yeah.
You know what? Curious pastors want to know. That's all it is. But we do have some great readings: 2 Corinthians 8, Proverbs 25, Psalm 75, and 2 Samuel 8 and 9. I think we have a wonderful opportunity to have a conversation about giving in this particular text.
Yep.
In the scriptures, when you're in 2 Corinthians 8, Paul talks about
a little hard to get around.
Yeah, you can't really, because it's kind of a few chapters. He leans into it, then he gets on it, and then he leans out of it. So he's really on it.
Yeah.
But he says, hey, look, giving. You want to give with a cheerful heart, and a lot of people are just freaked out when the church talks about money. So, why do you guys think? Is there a reason that you guys think that people freak out whenever a church talks about financial resources? Do you guys think about why do you guys think
there's a couple
that
of reasons. I think it's legit in the sense of when I'm talking about my money, I'm talking about my sweat and blood. I've gone out and I've driven nails, or I ran my small business, or in your case, Steve, you run a small business, and the result of your sweat and blood at work is money. People pay you, they Venmo you, or they pay you cash, or whatever it is. That's money. Well, what does that money represent? Your time.
Right.
And so when God says to us that we have this opportunity and even an obligation to return a portion of that to Him, we're saying, Lord, we acknowledge that you are our provider, not my clients, not my boss, not my employer, wherever it is that you work or you earn your money, if you're a day trader or whatever. Mm-hmm. Your provider is God. Yep. My provider is God. Pastor Ty might sign my paycheck, but he's not my provider, right? He's my pastor, and in this case, my employer. Of course, I work at Ty's bidding in that sense, right? Mm-hmm. But my provider is God. So when I tithe, and Sylvia and I talked about this not too long ago, you're not tithing to the church. And this goes back to our conversation yesterday. You're not tithing to the church. You're tithing to the Lord. Well, where do you tithe? At your local church, your home church.
Your home church, yes.
Right. If I go and eat at ABC restaurant, I don't pay my check, I don't pay the tab at XYZ restaurant. Why? Because I ate at ABC restaurant. The same way, where am I getting spiritually fed? My home church. So where am I tithing? My home church, because you pay the bill where you get fed. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one reason people get freaked out. The other reason, I think, is because they've seen all the abuses.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. They've seen all the mega stuff happen in the past years, and they've seen the misuse of funds, and it puts that in the back of their mind that happens everywhere.
Right, yeah.
But it doesn't, you know.
No, it doesn't. We're actually... Go ahead.
I was going to say, you got the guys on TV that...
Yeah.
I had to buy that jet.
Right, exactly.
I need another limousine or whatever it is.
And they see the TV evangelists asking for money constantly, you know.
You might look at Pastor Ty or Pastor Steve here. They got a new guitar.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, sorry, that's apples and oranges, right? Or, hey, are those new shoes? Is that where my tithe money's going?
Yeah, these shoes, I haven't had a pair of shoes in 7 years. I mean,
it's like, no, your tithe money is going to the Lord, and by His good graces, He is providing for the needs of pastors and staff members and faculty members, whatever it might be. That, God is allowing us to live our lives. Are there abuses? Come on.
And just for clarification, all the teachers' salaries are paid for by tuition,
right?
Not tithes.
On the school side.
On the school side.
Right, exactly.
Well, I could see how that one could have got misunderstood. So I was just, let's just make sure there's not.
But there's been abuse, so people see that and they're like, I don't want to do that.
Well, so every time
I've seen that.
Every time somebody says we're receiving an offering, people these days, I think, Ty, they go to extremes immediately. People love to go to extremes. We just saw the presidential debate, and you realize people typically go to extremes. And that's kind of the world we live in these days. So as soon as somebody gets up and says, hey, this time the servants team's going to come forward, we're going to receive the tithes and offerings of God's people. I want to tell you something. I never get offended by that. I never one time stand up and storm out and say, hey, what? Oh, money. You know why? Because this is my home church.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, I think the biggest thing about, like, home church, the idea is, like, if I'm, it's always weird if, so when I have conversations with people, and I'm trying to equate this in a way people can understand, every once in a while I'll talk to somebody who's come to church for 3-4 years, and they say, yeah, at my home church. What they're referring to is the place that they grew up, but now they've moved and now they're here. And I know what that means. But it's like, that would be like my children referring to the home they grew up in. So, in my home when I grew up. So they'd be like talking about Lori's in my home.
Sure. Back home, Mom and Dad used to do this thing.
Yeah, back home, Mom and Dad used to do this thing. All of my kids have their own homes. They all live on their own. That is their home. They are not homeless. That is their home. But they always have a home that they can refer back to. But they also have a home they can come back to. Yeah. So if you think about something as a church, if you think about your home church, if you think about where you grew up, like my home church is Water Springs. If you ask me about where I grew up in ministry, that would be a different place, right? That would be a different place. And so I can honestly say that my home church is where you're going to find me.
That's right.
So if you want to find me, I'm going to be at home. And by the way, we were talking about phones the other day, right? And having cell phones and home phones. If you wanted to get a hold of me when I was a kid, you either had to call, you had to knock on my door. You had to come to my home.
Exactly.
So if you want to find me, you come to my home. Well, now churches are starting to have these conversations about, do we continue doing online services? Do we continue to do all these live streams? Do we continue to do this because people are now not having a home church? They're just consuming church. They're not participating. And so that's a big deal. To have a home church is a place that you're going to be found. You're going to be there. And you're going to be, well, in a sense, doing the chores and taking care of things. And that's because it's your home church. And that's a good principle for people.
Right, absolutely. And I just think that it's a good question for all of us to ask. And again, Pastor Ty, I mean, this is Pastors Live, and we're biblicists, we're Bible guys. Just show me some. Are there exceptions? Yeah, but show me the rule, if you will, or the norm in the New Testament. When Jesus dictated 7 letters in the book of Revelation, chapters 2 and 3, he dictated 7 letters to 7 churches. When the Apostle Paul wrote epistles to 7 churches, they were individual churches. There are local churches. And were there exceptions to people who didn't always attend the same church? Yeah, they're called apostles and missionaries, Paul and Barnabas and Silas and these guys. But what are they able to do when they're writing those letters? They write these letters to the churches that are in so-and-so's home or that place. They're local. I just don't understand this concept of, yeah, man, I'm just part of the one church. Therefore, I bounce around. And here's why, and I know I'm going to get people upset. That's okay. Pastors Live at therev.fm, or if you really want to get personal, Dave at watersprings.net. I got big shoulders and I'm an old man, so bring it on. But when people say I'm just part of the one church, so I attend several churches, it feels disingenuous to me because as you really get to know those people, they don't bounce around to several churches. It's typically 2 or 3. And I think, well, if you really believe that we're all, and listen, we do believe in the universal church.
Absolutely.
And when we get to heaven, that whole church, every tribe, nation, tongue, we're all going, the Baptists don't get their own slice of heaven, and the Pentecostals get their own, and the Catholics and Calvary Chapel. It doesn't work that way.
No?
We're all going to be around the throne.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. 100%.
But here's the thing.
Really?
If you really believe we're all part, it's just one big church, and I bounce around, I always think, then why didn't you go to Catholic Mass? Why don't you go to the Episcopal Church? Why don't you go to the Methodist Church? Why don't you go to the Lutheran Church? No, you typically are bouncing around between 2 or 3 non-denominational churches saying, yeah, man, we're all one church. Well, I got news for you. Go back and read Revelation 2 and 3. Jesus is in the midst of all the churches. The truth of the matter is that we have a particular flavor at Water Springs that I'm very comfortable with.
Me too.
Right? And that's why Water Springs is my home church. You'll find me here. But you know what else? I'll have coffee this week with one of my very good buddies who is Lutheran. And I'll have coffee with a very good friend who is Assembly of God. And I'll fellowship with my Catholic brothers and sisters. But I have a home church, and that is a New Testament principle. So it's okay if you don't like me saying that. Dave at watersprings.net or Pastors Live at the Rev. Whatever it is.
Yeah,
Pastors Live at the Rev.fm.
Yeah, but I think part of it too is when you come back and you say, well, yeah, if you think about if you equate it to using the word home, what is home? Right? Home is
where you live.
Home is where you live, and having a home church is really important. And by the way, there's a lot of reasons having a home church is important, but there's health. There is the idea of the intimate fellowship, which creates naturally accountability. There's for us, it's like you have a home church, and inside that home church, we want to encourage you to have a home group. Because your home church is overseeing those home groups, and those home groups are part of that home church, and you're all in it together. You're all in it for Christ, and it's really, really special when you get close to people.
Absolutely. But and you know what else? When you get close to people, when you grew up as a kid, if you had siblings, did you always get along? Oh my goodness, no. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. And I can tell you there were times when I thought, man, my brother's a turkey. Wow, what a loser that he did that. You didn't leave and go to someone else's home. Hey, can I go to the Brower's house? Can I go to the Okamoto's house? I never argue with those guys. Yeah, go live there for a week, and pretty soon you go, I think the Browers are kind of turkeys, and the Okamotos have different traditions than the Colemans. I didn't go live in other people's houses. Now, I might have taken a break and said, I got to get on my bike and go for a ride. But guess what? When it was supper time, I was back home, as you can tell. Right? Yeah. But when it's supper time, you're back home because that's where the cooking is.
Yeah, and I think it's important too. And I always loved it. You go visit other people, and you go go to someone else's home for dinner and things like that. And go see friends and family. But having a home, having a place that you invest in, is, I think, really important. And I think we don't talk about it enough as the church today. And I think when things went online, really heavily online.
Yeah, 2020.
I think it really kind of changed people's perspectives. Because I think it's very, very important that people realize, no, I need to actually be with people. I need to be with the church and in the building. And so I just want to encourage you guys in that, because I think it's important, because then you can meet somebody and you can go out and get a cheeseburger with them. It's like, that's it. It's like,
here's another concept, you guys, as part of this conversation. My wife is an amazing cook, and she makes great Irish food, and I love Irish food. From time to time, about once a week, I take my wife out to dinner, right? We've got a couple of places here in town. We like Nepalese food. We like Mexican food. We like Thai food. So about once a week, I take my wife out to dinner. That is not saying, I don't like your cooking, honey. It's saying, hey, how about you take a break tonight? We go out on a date night. So we're not saying you can never, ever go visit another church. You're on vacation, Steve, or you're at this conference. You can't say, well, honey, we can't go visit another church. Our home church is Water Springs. Therefore, on Sunday, we just have to sit in the hotel room and just stare at each other. And we don't get to go to another church. Well, that's silly. Take her out to eat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Of course, It's okay. Go visit another church. But if you're saying this church, Calvary Baptist of ABC Town is my church, then you should be plugged in there. You should be part of the small groups there. You should be tithing there. You should be in participation there, and you should be able to be found there. Ty, we used to tell young people, get caught being there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, and that's a huge issue, Hey, I want to serve the Lord. I said, well, great. Do you come to church here? And you're like, because, I come every once in a while, but, God's told me I'm supposed to serve him. So, well, then come and be in church. I think it's really important. Hey, listen, guys, we're starting to wrap it down. We've got a lot of stuff going on around the church. We've got Operation Christmas Child, which it's that time of year again, and we want to encourage you to participate in Operation Christmas Child, and that's making little shoebox gifts for kids all around the world, and you can pick different age groups, boys and girls, and you can do those, and looking forward to that. We also have Light the Night, which is coming up, and Light the Night that is coming up, we're going to partner with Operation Christmas Child, and so we encourage you, when you come that night, the fee to come in is you just come in with something for a shoebox, a small pair of shoes, some socks, underwear, toothbrush, something that could go in an Operation Christmas Child shoebox.
A fun toy.
Mm-hmm. So if you're not sure what those are, go to their website at Operation Christmas Child and check it out. And the reason being is you don't want to bring guns, you don't want to bring like tanks, nothing that has a lot of these boxes are going to go into a war zone. And so you don't want things that are going to remind kids of war, especially when you're going to be talking about Christ and Jesus. Right. And each one of these boxes has the ability to affect up to 12 people. So if you think about 1,000 boxes is 12,000 people that are ministered to with the message of the gospel.
Also, this important. Saturday is Understanding Our Times with Del Tackett. Dr. Del Tackett will be here live. It's a 4-hour teaching on understanding our times. It is amazing. And go to deltackett.com to register. That's deltackett.com. Pre-registration is required, and it's 8:30 to 12:30 this Saturday, right here at Water Springs Church. It's going to be amazing.
Yep, looking forward to that. And that, by the way, love Del. He's such a great
amazing
guy,
brother, good guy.
Very, very gentle, very humble, well educated, and his series on his Genesis history. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. Yeah. It's very, very good.
You can see it on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and put Is Genesis History.
Yeah, and I think all of them are available also on Amazon and other things too. So you need to check that out. Hey, listen, everybody, you're loved. Your family. We are so thankful for you guys. Pastors Live at therev.fm. Pastors Live at therev.fm. Please read your Bible, but remember, read your Bible and then respond to it. Be in fellowship. Be serving the Lord. Tell God you love him. Boast about your God and tell somebody your story. Tell somebody about your salvation, and make sure that people have the opportunity to know how much you love God and how much you love them. You're loved, your family. God bless you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
You've reached the end of another episode of Pastors Live, a Rev FM production podcast. Thank you for listening. Submit your questions and comments by email to pastorslive@therev.fm. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review from your favorite podcast listening platform. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon so you don't miss the next episode drop.